Goodwood Speedweek presented by Mastercard. There is the green flag that says that we are good to go racing. Drivers now look towards the flag, which will drop now. Race underway. Who makes the best start? Good getaway by John Milicevic, actually, from the outside of the front row. Can he get the LDS into the lead? No, he can't. Andy Middlehurst out-drags him. Michael O'Brien drops back into second place round the outside. Tries to go Nick Fennell there, number 29 in his Lotus. He's going to get hung out to dry. But Andy Middlehurst has made an absolute peach of a start, hasn't he? He leads as they head up towards Fordwater for the first time.
Yeah, Middlehurst enjoying a little bit of a car length cushion already because he managed to get the job done before the breaking point into Madgwick. That allowed him to regain the regular racing line, as we see off the inside into the first part of St Mary's as they all jostled for position. Now coming through.
So that was Michael O'Brien, I think, wasn't it, being a real hero, diving up the inside from a long way back, and he's done it. And actually, so surprised was Andy Middlehurst by that. He's dropped a length or so already to Michael O'Brien as they come through Lavin then. So O'Brien trying to get away on cold tyres, doing a great job. Middlehurst trying to go with him. Milicevic is third. It's Sam Wilson in fourth place, number 7, as they come through the King down Lavin Straight, then heading towards Woodcote. Andy Middlehurst closing up, but Sam Wilson now comes up to have a go look for third place against Milicevic. The LDS just there, able to keep the Lotus 2022 at bay, but it's going to be Michael O'Brien in the lead at the end of lap 1, heading into the chicane. Andy Middlehurst is there in second position, but look at it, nose to tail for third as they wriggle through at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, and that was the slipstream effect that I was talking about. We almost saw it coming to fruition for the third place battle there, but now single file. Leader O'Brien with a nice little cushion on the way into Madgwick.
So at the end of lap 1, it's Michael O'Brien ahead, second Andy Middlehurst, John Milicevic third, fourth Sam Wilson, fifth Nick Fennell, Mark Shaw in 6th place, Andrew Beaumont now goes through down in 14th place. The gap between the race leaders was half a second, and then 1 second between second and third. So Milicevic and Wilson, if they can, need to try to work together to go after the leaders, but Sam Wilson dives through on the inside of Fordwater into St Mary's, and that is third place. Used all of the road, but that was a bold move, and it worked, and a yellow flag zone with a car stranded. It's Andrew Waring, I'm afraid, up the road ahead.
Yep, so that eliminates one of the clean overtaking places down into Lavin. A 90-degree right-hander, a lot of heavy braking, so normally we would expect plenty of lunging up the inside, but not with the yellow flags being waved. They will be removed just as soon as the stricken car is safely repositioned behind the barrier. Meanwhile, green flag racing up ahead on the run down into Woodcote.
Now that Sam Wilson there has been released, can he go after the race leaders? That's Nick Fennell fifth, having a look on the inside of John Milicevic to try to get past the LDS, but the Lotus denied then as they come into Woodcote. The race leader, still Michael O'Brien, the hugely experienced in Lotus 25 terms, Andy Middlehurst. Never mind all his other racing exploits. He knows exactly how to behave with this car, what he can expect from it. Through he goes in second place. Now, is he biding his time, planning his move against Michael O'Brien? Well, Michael, in fairness, has done the fastest lap of the race thus far. Mark Shaw rounding out the top 6 as the cars come pouring over the line. But Michael O'Brien leading at the moment by 1 second from Andy Middlehurst. Sid Houle goes through there in 9th place. And on his tail is Andy Willis in 10th spot.
Yeah, the fastest lap of the race so far is O'Brien out ahead on the 1:23.1. Remember, these just little capacity engines, so not very much horsepower. All of that lap time performance and just getting tighter. Oh, squeezed into the braking zone. Bit of a tank slapper. Gathering it all up at first and then not at the end. Oh, wait, without climbing up to Collins.
It was Dan Collins then, who's entered the drift karma a little bit earlier on in the day than anticipated. That was a big moment.
Now, that all started because he was in the tow, having a little look up the inside, but the circuit is not straight on the straight. It jinks left, then right, and he just ran out of road. It's ever so easy for the car in front to just widen, get the elbows out, just feign ever so slightly to the right when the car behind is already committed to that one car's width. They have nowhere to go but put a wheel on the grass. And that is the result.
So, while all that has been going on, has Michael O'Brien built the gap over Andy Middlehurst? He has. He's pulled another half a second over the Lotus 25. But Sam Wilson, in third place, is lapping quicker than Middlehurst. So the gap's second to third now. He's coming down. In fourth, you've got John Milicevic there. Fifth, looking at the back of the Lotus 25 of Nick Fennell. In 6th place, it's Mark Shaw. And then 7th, Chris Drake. 8th, currently, is number 14, which is the Cooper of Richard Wilson. As the leaders go through for the 4th time, Michael O'Brien still in charge, and Andy Middlehurst, for the moment at least, seeming as though he does not have an answer.
Glorious, isn't it? That lovely climax of Nick Fennell. These cars just so pretty, aren't they?
Yes.
Love the fine track. Some great proportions.
All from the 1500cc era, the so-called Screamers. There Nick Fennell goes through, but up front Michael O'Brien looks as though he's building this lead, because on this lap he's pulled another 10th in the first sector alone over Andy Middlehurst. Now what about Sam Wilson? He is catching Andy Middlehurst, or at least he was on the previous lap. He can maintain that pace, he might have a chance of taking second position before the very end. So this is the run down towards Woodcote. That out of the chicane is the race leader. Total concentration here. Michael O'Brien still learning about the car, but doing a very impressive job. 1.5 seconds the advantage was. Let's just see what it is now. It's up to 2.6. Wow, that was some lap by Michael O'Brien.
Yeah, 1:22.5 on that last lap for Michael O'Brien in the Brabham. See him just working away at steering, little input, little output, tiny little corrections, just manipulating the rotation of the car through the apex. There'll be easy flat down through forward water, easy flat over that crest, maybe just a little lift, a little breath on the brake perhaps to contain the speed through the first part of St Mary's, keep the car to driver's right so they've got a nice line into the left, using all the road on the exit. And now hard brake, you can see the nose dive down a gear, maybe even two, and then just boot the throttle, control the slide, use the power to direct the car through the second part of Lavin Corner and onto the straight. There is the first of the kinks, the main left hand in the middle of the straight. Now this is where it all went wrong a minute ago. You can see there the circuit goes left then right. If you've already snuck your nose up the inside of the car ahead, you're going to run out of road very quickly if they defend. Very difficult to get alongside on the run up to Woodcote there. Jinking right and left through the chicane, beautifully driven by O'Brien. See if he's faster again on this lap. Previous best, yeah, he's done it again, only by a few hundredths, but another 22.5, and nice consistent pace from the race leader. Always an indication that he's very much on top of his car.
What that now means also is that he's nearly 4 seconds ahead, so 3.9 is the margin between the top two. Andy Middlehurst's last lap was a 23.7. Sam Wilson, who is half a second back, is closing, so the battle is shaping up for second and third, isn't it? You can see the cars there in the background. Sam Wilson is not quite on the tail of Andy Middlehurst, but he's not far adrift. For fourth and fifth, it's still John Milicevic, and then Nick Fennell tucked up behind him. Mark Shaw, best of the rest. In sixth, and Milicevic using all of the road there through the first element of St Mary's.
Mike O'Brien out front, loving life, isn't he?
Yeah.
Miles ahead with nothing in front of him, just getting his head down, doing quali style laps. A bit of smoke coming out the back of Middlehurst's car there. I don't think it's anything to worry about. It was just a little whiff. You can see it again there. Now maybe I am worried.
Yeah, more common, isn't it? And he's also being caught. Now, does this explain why he's being caught and why they're dropping away from Michael O'Brien? Andy Middlehurst is being chased hard, being caught by Sam Wilson.
And of course this could mean that Sam Wilson's visor is getting peppered with oil, reducing his visibility. Always very hard when you see smoke coming out of the car in front, because not only can you get quite a lot of oil on your visor, but you worry about adhesion, because of course it might be oil being dropped on the road as well.
Absolutely right. So Andy Middlehurst goes through. That last lap actually was his best of the race, so he's trying to persevere despite the smoke. Sam Wilson dropping back a little bit actually as they went over the line, possibly for all the reasons you say. Their trackside is Bernardo Hartog's Lotus 1821, trying to rejoin, but second and third go through then with this rather elasticated gap. So Andy Middlehurst trying to fend off Sam Wilson, and yeah, the smoke is still there, and that clearly is affecting in some way, Sam, because the gap has stretched out from a lap ago.
It has, but keep an eye on Sam Wilson. He's got a lovely karting style to his driving. He likes to flick the car in on the way out of the corner. You see the rear, maybe here, just the rear stepping out on the way into the corner, neutralising the steering input. Deft little corrections, just an inch or two of steering to the right, an inch or two of steering to the left, using the throttle to neutralise it on the way out of the corner.
So can that gap come down? Equally, John Milicevic still doing a very good job of keeping Nick Fennell at bay here as the two of them run down now towards Woodcote, except this is Nick Fennell's best chance yet, isn't it? He goes to the inside line, he's got the room and he's got the line, and he goes through as Milicevic has to sort out a really vicious slide there.
Very big tank slapper, probably just locked the rear axle on the downshift there. Need to execute a nice heel and toe blip to keep the rear stabilised. That matches the engine speed with the wheel speed as you release the clutch, having selected a lower gear. If you get that wrong, that's what happens. The rear axle locks momentarily, and you've got to have your wits about you to gather it all up. Luckily, he did.
But he did lose a place then, so Nick Fennell finally finds a way by. What about Sam Wilson versus Andy Middlehurst? When they crossed the line, the gap was only 0.2 of a second, so it's still game on, and it's not so much smoke, just a constant haze now, isn't it, behind the Lotus?
It is, but I think it's getting gradually worse. Sam Wilson getting a little closer now, forcing Middlehurst to take a defensive line into the left-hander at St Mary's. He comes out on the tighter line as well. I reckon when we look back at, I was going to say I thought we'd see Sam Wilson taking a lunge up the inside into Lavin. He hasn't. He thought better of that, biding his time.
So where does he make that move? You've also just seen Michael O'Brien having to cope with the traffic as Malcolm Cook's Brabham to negotiate, as now down through the approach to Woodcote comes the smoky Lotus. Andy Middlehurst comes into the braking zone now, and then you've got right up behind Sam Wilson. Now this is it, isn't it? This is the start of the move, because Sam Wilson is closer than ever before. Andy Middlehurst has to go defensive to sit in the middle of the road to cover off the line on the way into the chicane, flick out of the left-handed element up towards the line, and so now Sam Wilson there in third place tries to line up to make this move going down towards the right-hander of Manjwick. Is this going to be the opportunity for him? No, Andy Middlehurst knows exactly how to defend, and as long as that car has got pace, he's going to use every trick he can to hang on to position.
Yeah, he's making that car as wide as possible, isn't he? Sam Wilson looking left and right, but he doesn't seem to quite have the power he needs, and particularly here we're seeing it visibly, the gap widening through the long flat out section from Manjwick through Fordwater. Wilson just getting a little tail happy as he tries to kill some speed on the way into the first part of St Mary's. Middlehurst, meanwhile, the hazy smoke coming out of the back end, still very much there. Hasn't put Wilson off yet. O'Brien out front.
Battle here for those that have had dramas early on in the race. Dan Collins, remember, after his big spin, he's now lapped down on Michael O'Brien. There you've got the second place battle. Andy Middlehurst doing a very good job of hanging onto the place. Problem or no problem, he is still there, hanging onto the position.
Well, watch for Wilson, because I think he's a bit stronger on the brakes here down into Woodcote, a bit quicker through the right-hand apex. Here is the traffic going to help Wilson. This is going to wrong foot Middlehurst. He can squeeze through. This could be terrible though for Wilson. He gets held back. I think that's Bernardo Hartog's, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So look at the gap there. As they crossed the line a lap ago, it was a tenth. Now as they cross the line, it is 1.2 seconds. All that hard work gone just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And there's just nothing you can do about that as a driver. You see those situations unfolding and your heart just sinks. Raging with frustration he would have been through the chicane, but he'll have to get his head down now, refocus, concentrate, because he does seem to have a slight pace advantage over Middlehurst. Middlehurst maybe is nursing a little bit of an engine problem. Smoke not getting worse, but still visible.
And the pace of Middlehurst's car is still good. His last lap was only a second off his earlier best, but doesn't that look brilliant as a proper period shot at Goodwood? Fantastic.
Absolutely stunning.
But for the full face helmet, you could be back in the 1960s, couldn't you? And Andy Middlehurst, great Jim Clark fan, absolutely adores driving this car, has had great success with it, and is determined to hang on to that second place. So he's got 6 more minutes to go, more traffic beckons, which might go either way for Andy Middlehurst or, of course, Sam Wilson.
Well, I think this is exactly what Wilson will have hoped to see. He wants Middlehurst to get a little bit held up by the traffic. It's already happening as we look at O'Brien out front with a 6.7 second lead. He's comfortable. He's backed his pace off now by about a second per lap. Maybe a bit too much, actually, Mike. You might want to pick it back up a little. But again, just beautiful balance, isn't there? Brabham loving life out front. Nobody ahead, nobody behind. Perfect. Meanwhile, the battle rages, doesn't it, for second place between Middlehurst and Wilson, who we can't see on our screen at the moment, but they were navigating their way through the back markers. That, we think, might give Sam Wilson a chance to launch another attack on Middlehurst.
7 seconds, Michael O'Brien is clear of everybody else. So, mighty impressive this has been. Comes now through the right-hander. out of Lavant onto the power once more. Andy Middlehurst, of course, still busy trying to keep Sam Wilson at bay. The gap had gone up even more last time from 1.2 to 1.7 seconds. So is Sam Wilson now thinking, I'm going to have to settle for third place? Down towards Woodcote comes Michael O'Brien, but he has just dominated this race. Another hat tip to Michael, because this has been a standout performance. He's not put a wheel wrong in a car he doesn't know that well, and a circuit he doesn't know very well at all.
Well, his fastest lap is a full 1.1 seconds quicker than Middlehurst behind. But interestingly, we were speculating that Sam Wilson looked to have a slight pace advantage over Middlehurst. Timing screens back that up. Middlehurst fastest so far at 23.6. Sam Wilson 2/10 faster on a 23.4. So I'm expecting to see this battle go to the flag, but it's going to need some help, isn't it? It's going to need a few more back markers to impede the progress of Middlehurst, allow Wilson to close back in and launch another attack to take advantage of that slight, and it is slight, pace advantage that he has.
Yeah, Sam Wilson last time was just under 0.6 of a second quicker, so the gap second to third has come down once more, but is it coming down enough, bearing in mind that we've only got 4 more minutes of the race to go? There's Andrew Beaumont in 10th place, wriggling his way into and now out of the chicane, heading up towards the timing line once more, but Michael O'Brien now 8.7 seconds to the good up front. There is Sam Wilson. Now where is Andy Middlehurst? He's catching again, isn't he? So oily visor or not, he is pushing as hard as he can, but he gets stuck, doesn't he? He drops back, catches, and then can never quite find a way past the Lotus.
Well, he's got at least 2, probably 3 laps to do it, so all to play for still. Sam Wilson just doesn't quite have the legs, does he, on Middlehurst? But he does have it in the braking zone. Huge advantage. Oh, it's right up there. Again, forcing Middlehurst into the defensive line, into the chicane. That will compromise his exit, but he has a slight power advantage, as we've seen on the previous laps. Wilson tucking into the slipstream. He's now got the benefit of a 2-car tow ahead. It's not going to be enough down the short straight, especially when he's carrying a slight power disadvantage. And yet again, the back marker traffic doesn't fall his way. He gets stuck behind it, allowing Middlehurst through.
Indeed, Greg Thornton in the LDS is the back marker, and Sam Wilson, as we have seen, good through the corners, really good on the brakes, and not so good where the power is counting. And look, Andy Middlehurst stretches the margin again. So over the line it was 0.3 of a second, and now the gap has really gone out once more as they charge through St Mary's. 2.5 minutes to go, 2 more laps then for the race leader potentially. Sam Wilson throwing everything at this. Now there is a back marker ahead of Andy Middlehurst as they come up towards Lavant. There is Sam Wilson then, the Lotus 2022 with a Ford engine running in that 3rd place, but as he comes out of Lavant again, Middlehurst already clear of the back marker. Now Sam Wilson has to try to make his move in a straight line.
He will clear the car that he's passing right now long before the braking zone. That's good, because that will allow him to use the strengths of his particular car to their full advantage. We saw on the previous lap he can close at least a car length in that braking zone down at Woodcote. It's not enough for him to mount a challenge into the chicane, but the gap is closing. There doesn't seem to be anybody ahead, so perhaps finally now on this lap he can tuck the car into the tow, can't he? He will lose a little bit on this power drag up to turn 1, and then he will probably maintain the gap through the 2 apexes here at Madgwick. Middlehurst just pulls out on the flat-out run up to and through Fordwater.
So frustrating for Sam Wilson, isn't it? Because we know he's quick, he's proved that. I mean, he in turn is 6 seconds clear of anybody else, but he just can't stay close enough to Andy Middlehurst on the fast sections of the circuit to make a move. A tighter line through Fordwater, heading up to the first part of St Mary's. He's right there now. There's been a drama ahead. A car is off the road, so yellow flags over as that Andy Middlehurst lifting a bit more for that incident zone. Either way, they are now nose to tail. And does this give Sam Wilson a chance maybe to dive up the inside into Lavant? He goes wider into the first part. Can he get the undercut coming through the corner? Trouble is, they're heading for a straight now, aren't they, which might just favour Andy Middlehurst then in the Lotus 25. The Climax engine car gets away once again. Look, the gap stretches out here.
Yeah, but look out for Sam Wilson in the braking zone, because this is the closest they've been, I think, down the straight for a few laps. No, I say that, it's extended. There is the power difference between the 2 cars. Wilson can close up a little bit on the brakes. He can close up a little more through the apex, which he connects with better than Middlehurst up ahead. Middlehurst still taking a bit of a defensive line into the chicane, not so badly that it will compromise his exit. but time is running out. 18 seconds of the race to go. They do cross the line. They will get another lap.
And there's a yellow flag being waved at Madgwick then, so the cars, they just caught a glimpse of the yellow. Somebody's had a drama there. Meantime, there are plenty more battles raging on lower down the order, including number 8, Mark Shaw, going through there with his now 5th placed car, because he had briefly got himself up past John Milicevic, but then drops back behind him. So that's seesawing for 5th and 6th places. So the leaders go through 10 seconds now. Michael O'Brien is clear of the opposition. This, starting the last lap of the race, is for 5th. Milicevic back up ahead of Mark Shaw, but Michael O'Brien is clear in the race lead, and what a drive. He's not put a wheel wrong. It's been like a dummy qualifying session for him. He's just done relentlessly quick laps all the way through to build the gap. He's on his way now down towards Woodcote Corner, and the Brabham BT14 then comes down towards Woodcote, but we're not done yet for 2nd place, because Andy Middlehurst has got Sam Wilson right up behind him. Can he stay with him to have another late break effort coming down towards Woodcote? We've got the race leader heading to the checkered flag, but again that gap 2nd to 3rd just stretches on the run down towards Woodcote, through the chicane up towards the checkered flag, and a race win will come. Michael O'Brien, that's Dan Collins ahead of him, who is going to now go just to start his last lap as Michael O'Brien lifts off, celebrates the race win. He'll be delighted with that, no question. But what about 2nd? Is it going to be Andy Middlehurst who comes up towards the timing line ahead? Yes, it is, and Sam Wilson threw everything at that, but it just was not to be.
Absolutely stunning race, great driving from all of them. I do feel for Sam Wilson. He was absolutely driving the wheels off the little Lotus. He didn't have the legs on the straight. He couldn't close up close enough to take advantage of the better handling. But a great job by all, mainly Mike O'Brien out ahead. Dominant performance,
just
beautifully
fantastic.
driven.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that races a McLaren GT3 with 720S, normally in British GT. And again, we've talked about it in the context of other drivers, but you know, he's a young guy, parachuted into this, not a car he knows, a circuit he doesn't know particularly either, and just a brilliant performance that.